just being a total butt. Oh, I should probably... Oh, look at that. That's totally resized like all of my stuff. That's sound test. Can somebody pull up the... I don't trust my sound test. Just given how much problems my computer has given me so far.
You're a little soft on the Twitch side.
I am? Okay, let me see here. Oh, here we go.
So am I.
Oh, really? Because you guys are up all the way. How about now?
That's better. I turned my own volume up too.
Okay. David, you want to say something?
Hello, sound check, test 1, 2, 3.
And Nina?
Hi, testing. All good.
And Karu?
Hello. How's it going, guys?
Everybody okay? Okay. All right, good. Well, I am actually going to tweet.
Now that everything's working.
Now that everything works. And my typing's probably the loudest thing on the channel. And I can't type, apparently. All right. Boy, this day is going well. All right. Here we go. Okay. Well, then. Welcome to DnDeBrief. This is Sam. My hair is even like... It's like I almost have bedhead here. Okay. So... Welcome to Sunday, September 6th stream of DnDeBrief. This is Sam, and I am your DM for the evening, and I am here with 4 wonderful players. Let's start with Nina.
Hi, I'm Nina, and I'm playing Emma Nornestra, who is a human Tempest Cleric.
Excellent. And David.
Hi, I play Axley Tillingquest, Halfling Bard.
And Karu.
Hello, I'm Karu, and I'm playing Marcel Petite Abduran, the gender-fluid Lutrinian Storm Sorcerer.
And last but not least, Matt.
Hello, I'm Matt. I'm playing Konos Lendath, the CL Warlock.
And last time, we had a lot happen. Who wants to tell us about what happened?
There was a party.
There was a party.
Not for us, but we still went.
Right.
Someone still went.
We weren't the belle of the ball.
You almost were.
Yeah, so we went to the party that was being thrown for the their high cleric of Straben, who was basically taking all the credit for getting rid of this dragon that had attacked the city, even though we kind of knew that it was Emmerin and her mother who were, you know, we'll say, I think we pretty much established that, you know, they were the ones who were pretty much responsible at this point. This guy's just putting on a show. So Axley and Konos went while Marcel and Emmerin tried to like help out with some things in the city, and Emmerin did a whole bunch of healing and essentially turned herself into a overnight cult leader sensation, so to speak. Marcel turned down a perfectly good invitation to a rat gambling party.
I mean, yeah, maybe if I trusted my dice a bit better, but
And then so Konos and Axley were at this party, and they were being followed by somebody who was invisible at one point, and then we managed to expose him, like a page boy or something, essentially. And basically we managed to convince the queens to let us, essentially let us give our account of things and put cleric Tullus to the test. And essentially since I think the idea is, we're all going to put ourselves under a zone of truth and kind of see where the cards fall when all said and done.
Okay, that's a pretty accurate description. What happened in town while that was all happening?
well, they seem to have everything in hand. We did go down to the docks eventually, and I spoke with Shark Face, who we still don't know the name of.
That is true. True story.
And eventually, Emmerin decided it was a good time to pay people. So we paid a bunch of people. We paid our crew finally, and we tried to warn them not to go to the gambling party. Not really sure how that is gonna work out. I think they're just gonna gamble away all their money.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's fine. We still need crew members, so like, if they spend all their paycheck, they'll come back for another paycheck.
That's true.
Point.
That is true. That is true. And what happened at the infirmary?
Yeah, that was a whole lot of fun. Emmerin cast a single healing spell, and it healed like a good half of the infirmary entirely, with this like weird golden mist. And then cast a second singular spell of healing and healed the other half, and then panicked and said that she was Reyla, and that came back to bite me in the ass like 20 minutes later. But yeah, and then I guess word got around really fast. And in the meantime, Reyla woke up. When we got back, we did have a brief discussion with her, and the Book of Proofs finished up, and we deciphered the rest of it and decided that using a Revivify spell was the way to cure the people, or at least Lucanius. Mostly everybody, maybe. And then I did use a commune spell at the very end, and I very briefly wrote down, but I don't remember what half of this means. I do remember I asked something about if Straben was involved, and she said that if I had learned more about the marriage of Goras and Straben, I might have a better idea. And then I guess I asked if Tullus was involved, this is referring to the dragon disappearing in the water. I asked if Tullus was involved, and he said no. So...
But what so you asked 3 questions, right?
Yes,
What
I
was
didn't
the
write
first
down
one?
the first one.
Oh. Did I? Let me see.
My notes for last session are all over the place. I don't know if it's just because my brain is not with me today, or if I just physically wrote terrible notes. I can't decipher half of this.
I wrote down you basically asked if Goros approves of using necromancy,
That's right.
revivify for those
Yeah.
reasons, and the response he basically got was the most pragmatic solution is often the most ideal. So a slightly passive aggressive way of saying yes, but kind of yes. And each of these replies were in somebody else's voice as well.
Yeah, that's still a little weird, but
That happened
typically
last
the
time
last
that
one
you
is
did
in.
commune, right? Like that.
Yeah,
That's
and the last one was Laralax both times.
yeah.
I don't like it.
That's how your commune spell happens to manifest.
Oh.
So you don't know if the voices that you're hearing because of your own psyche is putting that answer into that voice, or if the voice is actually part of the message. You have no idea what the actual answer to that question is. So okay, so now the question is, what are you gonna do? Did you talk about the part where Axley's nice monocle noticed that somebody was following them?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we did.
That's how we figured it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we got all called up, and
Yeah.
yeah, he saw that, and then essentially did a bit of three stoogery with lots of food to expose the little punk.
Pie to the face.
Pretty much.
So good.
Yeah, and he ran out and wouldn't tell you who hired him.
Right.
And in order to avoid a further scene, you ended up
Letting him go.
yeah, just letting him go, because it's kind of better that way, right?
Yeah, he didn't seem to be particularly useful. He was a low-ranking just spy, just to keep tabs on us. Maybe overhear something.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's a lot. And so you met Marcel met Sabatine, the head of the merchants, so the minister of the mercantile district, basically. And you learned that the magistrate would have to give you permission to cast, but that person is part of the Queen's inner advisory board. So they were at the royal palace. So, yeah. So what are you gonna do?
Well, we didn't end up casting too much besides a bunch of heals. I mean,
Right.
2 heals.
Right.
That's right.
So that went well.
Is it
And
still?
apparently the queen already knows about it, so I think we ended the session with you casting your commune, and then we were gonna rest for the night and see what happened the next day. Because the next day was because we already kind of powwowed together and kind of compared notes, and we were gonna do the whole truth seeking with Mr. takes people's achievements and makes them theirs.
Oh, we forgot to mention that at the end, the cat was out of the bag, right? That everyone was reporting that Reyla was the one running around curing everybody.
Yeah.
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 You were at the ball and you mentioned Reyla, and upon hearing that, one of the Queen's someone in her entourage said, "Pardon me, but I don't mean to interrupt, but I have, and then said something to the Queen," and basically you gather that what that person said was, they just mentioned Reyla, but Reyla's out in town healing people. Because you were saying that one of your pieces of evidence that it wasn't just the abbot, but it was you yourselves, your group, who had an effect on the dragon, was that Reyla is unconscious in her room. And because you used her name, then they said, well, wait, we've got word that Reyla the Wise is out, healing people.
Which was kind of a surprise to to actually know
Yes.
us. So like, that's news to us.
We left her unconscious in bed. Maybe she recovered.
Right.
It's a miracle. Praise Goras. I think that's literally what I said.
But then Reyla was awake, and now she knows that Emmerin was using her name to do some local miracles. And
Right.
then we decided that, it was a long day. We should get some rest.
Yeah. She said that she would go with you to talk to the audience, because the queens asked for an audience with you, right? So she said she would
Right.
go with you, but she would not lie.
So we just have to make sure Emmerin just mentions that she panicked and gave the wrong name.
It's literally what happened in game and out of game. So like, okay.
Makes absolute sense. So yeah, so I guess we sleep and then we go have our audience with the queens, if that's like, I don't know what time they want to see us, because we're waiting on them, I guess.
Mhm.
Anybody else?
That sounds good.
Yeah,
Okay.
that
So you're just going to hang out on the royal grounds until you're called? Is that what I'm hearing? Okay. Okay, well, if that's what you want to do, then around what we would call 10 a.m., so mid-morning or so, the major domo comes to gather you all up. Remember, his name is Justinius, and he has been your sort of person that tells you all about your accommodations and all of that. And so he's there to lead you to the Queen's audience room.
Mm-hmm.
So my question for you is, are you taking Blacksley with you?
He'd
Well,
probably get in less mischief if he's with us than if we leave him alone.
Yeah, that's debatable. If he stays there quiet, yes, but if he decides to open his mouth,
I mean, I have a feeling that if we don't ask him to come along, he's going to come anyway, because he tends to go wherever Reyla goes.
It's true.
I don't have a problem with him coming along.
Okay. So you are led to the not the throne room. The throne room is where you were received the first time. The first time that you went into the royal palace, the royal manor, you were being received as royalty, as members of a royal family from a distant continent or island. And that's not where you're going now. Where you're going now is to an audience room, and it's a much less ostentatious kind of room. It's long and narrow. It has pillars forming basically a hallway to lead you to a small dais which has a couple of chairs on it, and those chairs are I wouldn't call them full-on ceremonial thrones, but they are very well decorated, and it's obvious that they are for royal family members only. And as you are led in, the queens are already sitting there, and you see that along the on the other side of the pillars, that against the walls, there are guards. The queen's royal guards are basically just lined up on the perimeter of the room. There's a couple of doors on the back wall, and there are two advisors on each side of the queens. So, the one queen has two on her right, and the other queen has two on her left. So there's four advisors. You could tell they're royal advisors because they're wearing royal crests and all that stuff. And there are also standing slightly in front of and off to the side two of the main Queen's Elite Guard that are there, presumably for the protection of the queens. And the Major Domo leads you in, and very very obviously makes a flourishing bow to the queens, and your highnesses, I present to you the four royal nobles that you have requested this morning. And he sort of says your names, and then he kind of just bows out of the way and kind of almost just sort of fades into the background. You don't ever see him leave the room or hear any doors or anything, but he is no longer sort of in your vision. And now you are left standing in front of the queen. The queens, actually, both of them.
Who else is in the room?
A bunch of guards, 4 advisors, and two of the main bodyguards of the queens.
Do they have their like robot shield guardians there as well?
No, they are not within your line of sight.
Right.
Well, I suppose we also give a bow and
Yeah.
give our greetings to the queens.
Thank you for summoning us, your majesties.
I'm very interested to hear what tale you have to tell.
Which one?
Well, I was under the impression that you had asked for this audience so that you could explain yourselves.
Ah, okay, that one.
We only desire to tell the tale of truth so that you may understand that the falsity lies in someone else, not us.
Pardon?
Well, as we mentioned last night, we believe your advisor is being false to you in representing that he's responsible for ridding you of the dragon.
And what proof are you presenting? You have Reyla the Wise with you? Which one of you is Reyla the Wise?
Yeah.
Reyla steps forward and says, I am Reyla.
Okay. We, as you probably already know, Marcel and I went out last night to help any of the people that were needed help. We tried to make sure everybody was safe, recover lost items. I decided to help in the infirmary with mostly just my medical skill, because we know that casting is not allowed in public, so we were trying to steer clear of that as much as possible. However, there were a handful of people that were close to dying, and we didn't exactly get permission, but we did get Minister Sabatine's word that she would vouch for us that the casting is being used for good. When I cast the spell, a healing spell, just on one person, golden mist just kind of emanated and healed almost everybody in that space. And when I did it again, it happened again and healed the rest of them. And a lot of the people were praising me, and I just panicked and said my name was Reyla. I didn't want to draw attention to myself. I didn't want people following me, and it was just a moment of, I couldn't think of any other name besides my mom, because she had been unconscious and she was on my mind, and that was the first name that came to my mind. I called myself Reyla, but the one doing the healing was me.
Roll a persuasion check.
Oh God. Oh Lord. Persuasion. Okay, that's not. Oh, that's bad. 8 total.
Wow.
Yeah.
The queens, both of them have very, like, furrowed brows. They're kind of staring at you.
If you need witnesses, any of the witnesses are going to get
Silence.
Thank you.
What other evidence do you have that supports the halflings' conjecture that it is not our abbot, but yet is your group who helped? If you have already lied, how can we be sure of whatever else you are saying?
Your Majesties, these were the acts of a god as channeled through their disciples.
Or
Perhaps-
through the Abbot of Straben, who has been a trusted member of this court for many years.
So perhaps we should consult the gods and ask the gods themselves.
But you are questioning him, and you have already shown that one of you is unable to tell the truth at an important moment.
Your Majesties, when you were young, as identical sisters as you are, was there ever a moment when each of you blamed the other for something in a
Pardon me?
a moment of passion?
This is not my sister.
Oh, you're related, right? Aren't they siblings?
And
No?
they are married.
They're married.
Oh,
Your Majesty, it's not so much. Well, okay. She did say that she gave her mother's name in a moment of panic, but more than lie, it was just a.
It was an untruth, was it not?
I'm not saying the contrary. I'm just saying that the reason that happened was because Emran is a very
humble soul.
person who did not want people thinking she was something special and someone to necessarily be of importance. She just healed people because they needed it, not because she wanted to
Is this
become...
not the captain of your vessel?
Yes.
In my years as a leader, I have never seen a captain of a vessel who was quite so humble.
To be fair, we kind of put her up to it.
Your explanations are falling hollow. Karu, roll me a persuasion check, please.
Please roll better.
Oh God.
It's so bad.
Okay, it's okay.
Did you
I got
roll
a
a natural
+8 to
1?
Persuasion, so that's.
But did you roll a natural 1? Okay.
No.
Off with their heads.
Yeah.
11.
Oh boy.
Oh no! I rolled a 3.
Oh, that's. Hey, a 3 is 300% better than a 1.
I mean, yes.
I may have to pull the trigger on this early.
I am
What are we gonna do? No.
I am
Something
quite distressed at the chain of events that has led to this. The accusation that our abbot has lied or misrepresented himself. I was willing to listen to this, but seeing that none of your group seems to be able to tell the whole truth is leading me to question why we even granted you an audience. You were compelling last evening, but perhaps it was just the air about a celebration. What of you? What of you, tall, blue-skinned one?
Well, I will give my account of what we experienced when we exited the library. We saw the dragon attacking the city. Both Emmerin and Reyla reached out to their deity Goras for aid to help your city. and I saw a giant hand shimmering in light burst forth from the waves and seize the dragon and drag it beneath. The way I saw this is more in line with Goras than Straben. At least I believe that is what's typically familiar. One would say that this manifested more as a sign of Goras than of Straben.
And how does one come to that conclusion?
Well, I am not an expert on...
Is Straben not the god of the sea? Who better to wield the power of the oceans themselves?
How many total people are in the room at this point?
There's 2 queens, 2 main guards, 4 advisors behind them, at least 10 people along the sides of the room behind the pillars. Plus you all and the major domo.
That's too many.
If I'm not mistaken, our companions last night did suggest that we use magical truth
Compulsion.
spells to make sure to give further proof that we are not lying about this.
Matt, roll me a persuasion check for Konos, please.
Come on, Matt. Come on, please.
13.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
Your Majesty, would you not say that you would tend to want to know the truth from someone so humble that they wouldn't want to take credit openly, whereas your abbot, is he a humble individual? As long as you've known him, has he shied away from taking credit?
Right now, he is not the one in question. You are saying that your captain is humble, but so far, I have not seen evidence to prove that. I have only seen things to the contrary.
Would a humble person spend her time, rather than being at a ball seeking glory and audience with you, out healing your subjects after being involved in a cataclysmic attack and a dragon on a city that she's not from?
Now roll
the very
persuasion.
first thing in her mind is taking care of your subjects.
Persuasion.
Jeez. If the bard can't pull us out of this,
yeah. Okay, because I rolled a. You're not gonna believe it. You want me to show you the 20 with the camera?
No, you don't need to.
Natural
Saved by
20.
the bard.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Wow. I don't believe it.
That is a compelling argument. The only one that I've heard so far today.
I think it's early morning. I'm not a morning person.
Your Majesty, putting myself in your position, having strangers bring this kind of doubt and this fantastical story, you need to find out for yourself. We want you to know the truth, and you can't just take our word for it. We understand that you look at us with suspicion. I would too in your circumstances, but you also need to know the truth, because conversely, if you have an individual amongst you who's willing to tell such a horrible falsity to gain your favor, you could put trust in them later that may bring ruin upon your city and your
There is no
majestic rule.
There is no reason for the good abbot to lie. He already has our trust. Why would he need to lie to gain trust that he already has earned?
Maybe he really hasn't earned it.
Or maybe it's more of a matter of ego than trust. Man in his position, a man who goes about wearing platinum-studded robes, can get too comfortable with the trappings of such wealth and power. And
This is, would you say, the same of my dress today?
oh, absolutely not. You look fabulous.
And Your Majesty, we're not here to
This
convict
is
your abbot.
this is
We're here
this is uncalled for to attack him for wearing his ceremonial dress last evening at a formal occasion.
We're not here to attack or judge your abbot. We're here just to
It
give
sounds
you
as if you are. Even Reyla the Wise has been silent. Reyla just looks at Imran like, should I say something?
I mean, you can't make anything worse at this point. It's not going so great, so go for it.
Is Kono still wearing his headband, or did you take it off when the barnacle fell off?
He would not be wearing it anymore.
Okay. Do you try to hide the coral eye?
To be honest, he wouldn't normally have a reason to.
Okay. The Queen looks back at Axley and says, "You sound as if you are ready to make a proposal. What is your proposal?"
My proposal is that rather than take our word for it, because clearly there's nothing we can say to convince you outright, you need to use some form of divination at your disposal to find the truth. And if we're false, we'll pay the price for it.
And what do you suggest?
Well, there are several means to divine the truth, right? Those who have the power to ask the gods direct questions can take that method, and there are spells that put people under a compulsion to tell the truth as they perceive it.
And which do you suggest?
I mean, how do people who know Zone of Truth know how infallible it is? Is it a pretty infallible method of divining the truth?
I mean, sure. I mean, so the thing is, like, it has a save, right? So
yeah,
mechanically speaking, it has a save. And when you're in the zone of truth, though, do the participants know that you have saved or not? That's the question. Let's find out.
The
caster knows.
The caster knows, right? So the thing is, like, but just because you made your save doesn't necessarily mean you're lying, though, right? So
correct. Yeah, that's why it should almost be it should be an impartial third party that casts the spell. It shouldn't be either of the individuals who need to be compelled to tell the truth.
Right. I mean, I would think ideally, plus Zone of Truth, the person can, even if they aren't resisting or they are affected by the spell, they can still be evasive. They can still not answer. They can still give like half answers. So they just cannot absolutely lie.
Yeah.
They aren't required to tell the absolute truth. So Your Majesties, I would propose that we go direct to the source with a divination.
And how do you propose we do this? Our highest priest is the one you're questioning.
Yes, but if he was to conduct this ritual, it wouldn't be him speaking, it would be the gods themselves. They would essentially be able to ask Straben, did you intervene? Were you responsible for getting rid of the dragon?
Your Majesty, have you heard of a relic called the Book of Proofs?
As you ask that, one of the attendants behind them leans over and whispers something into her ear. She says, "It is knowledge that I have."
Your understanding of this artifact says that it is capable of divining impartially a true or false statement without any interference or ability of the individuals to interfere with that answer, correct?
I presume, yes.
That could be an item that could be used.
You suggest that we go into the library and find this tome and use it to divine whether or not you're telling the truth?
If that's the method.
Or
the
do
best
you,
method to.
or are you suggesting we apply it to the abbot?
Well, the question that would be asked of the tome would be just a statement as to who is responsible or not responsible.
Either way would work. You could use either the phrase Straben, the abbot was the one who turned the dragon away, or Emmerin was the one that turned the dragon away. Either way, it would give an answer, truthfully.
Unless it was one of the gods that turned the dragon away, in which case it would say no to both.
Yeah, it's gonna be Goras and Straben, because they're the ones that turn the dragons away.
It's true. You could ask if the abbot was falsely claiming to take credit for having done the deed when he actually did not, and is knowingly deceiving, being deceptive.
But the thing is, he might still think that he's the one that did it. You know? Like, he might truly believe that he helped. We don't know.
And out of
You
character,
also have not applied a matter of personal thought and intent to the Book of Proofs at this point.
Mm-hmm.
it's just facts.
Yeah.
So there's three things on the I'm not talking as the queens right now. So there's three things on the table. There's a divination spell, there's a zone of truth, and there's the Book of Proofs.
The problem I see out of character with the Book of Proofs is explaining why we have it with us
Yeah,
instead
that's
of...
not gonna go over well.
That's specifically why the queen said, take it, go get it out of the library.
Yeah,
You're like, no,
and
we have it
also-
right here.
Yeah, we have it right here. Why is it covered in skin?
We just checked it out.
And also, it takes a lot of. Also, it takes a long time for it to put its answer together.
Yeah. I mean, divination... I mean, there has to be other clerics besides their High Cleric of Straben. There has to be...
I mean, divination is what, a 4th level spell?
Well, even just Zone of Truth, right? Because here's the thing, I already cast Immune. Right? So I already know that both Goras and Straben helped with the dragon, but Tullus was not involved.
Right, so we can't tell the Book of Proofs Straben did not help with the dragon
Right.
because Straben did
Straben
help with the
did.
dragon.
Right.
It wouldn't prove anything.
What we can do is cast Zone of Truth. I'll purposely fail my wisdom save so that they know I cannot lie, and I will straight up say, when I communed with Goras, she told me Tullus was not involved with removing the dragon. And at least we have that on the table. Whether they or not they choose to believe it can be up to them, but at least they know when I say that statement, I'm not lying. So at least what Goras has told me is something.
Mm-hmm.
I really want to find out what the actual questions were that you asked.
They're very important.
Okay. And Your Majesties, I'd like to clarify a point, which is our motivation for bringing this to your attention has nothing to do with taking credit or glory or discrediting your abbot. It's to bring you information because we want to earn your trust and favor for a very specific purpose, which we outlined before, which is the greater good of the world. The mission that we're on is we require your assistance in fighting this evil that is mounting itself upon us and will soon be awash like a tidal wave over even your incredible city. Our motivation is to firm up this alliance because we need your help desperately in this war that we're in, that the secret war that will soon be upon everybody.
And you believe that Tullus is an enemy of yours in this war?
We believe he's an obstacle into earning that truth and favor with you, as you're looking at us currently now mistrustfully.
You have requested an audience and then lied to us.
from our perspective, you asked for our aid in defeating a dragon. We went and did exactly that, and now we're being treated as if we played no part.
We did not ask for your aid. We mentioned that the dragon is still around, and then we gave you access to our library and basically said if you find what you need there, then it would be nice if you reciprocated by helping us. We did not require that you banish a dragon for us.
We can still help you.
Yeah, I didn't say required, but we
did it anyway.
we availed ourselves of your need.
So, while we were studying in the library, we came across various documents that I researched well into last night. We figured out a way to cure the illness that has been plaguing those who have been quarantined. And I have a solution. We can still help in that manner. And if you recall, Tullus had said that those people were doomed to perish because it was the will of Straben. However, Doris has entrusted this power to me to be able to heal them, and she has entrusted me to find a cure, and I have. So, with your permission, I would like to help you in that manner. And I would, on your part, maybe just consider why Tullus had claimed that it was impossible when it really is not. I have nothing against the man, but some of the things he has said they sit wrong with me. A cleric is supposed to help the people in need, and the fact that he is just willing to let those people die makes me question his morals and makes me question his loyalty.
And we do not know the man. You've spent your rule with him at your side. You know him. So if anything we say is ringing true based on your history with him, as you've seen him behave, as you've seen him perform his duties, as you've seen what he does with his office, those are the things we ask you to consider, not our words.
Right. You would know best in this matter.
If you say that he's a fine, upstanding cleric that's done nothing but good and has been a boon, nothing but a boon for the entirety of his officiation of his duties, then we have no need to have a quarrel with him. We just are trying to find a way to earn your trust and respect so that we can have reciprocal alliance in this dreaded upcoming blight of that's descending upon the world.
The queen looks over and says, Lord Tobic. And out from the shadows steps a very tall, very well armored woman with the royal crest on both shoulders, who gives a slight bow and says, Your Majesties. And the queen says, Go inform Abbot Tullus that we request his audience. Post haste. And Lord Tobic bows and then rushes out of the room through one of the back doors. Let us settle this matter once and for all.
I reach over and I squeeze my mom's hand. Is there anything else you want to add before we're not?
before you're facing the abbot?
Yeah. Anything else?
While you're waiting, a short, blue-skinned halfling steps out from one of the doors in the back. and whispers into one of the queen's ears.
Are blue-skinned halflings something that is normal here?
Nope.
Oh, I don't like this. Only blue-skinned things I know of are
Goblins, yeah.
goblins.
And Konos.
Yeah, but Konos is a Triton, not a halfling.
Sea elf.
Yeah.
Bite your
I
tongue.
don't think I've seen any blue skin halflings before. Unless they fell into the grapes when they're stomping for the wine. Other than that,
When he gets done talking to the queen, she nods, and he steps forward and he bows and he says, "Hello, I am Hubertus, and I would like to know if you would like any, anything to imbibe while you are waiting. Tullus usually takes a while to get ready, and he will not show up to the queen's audience without being dressed up, if you understand."
I'm good.
No, thank you.
I'll take a goblet of something. I don't know, a good wine, a spirit.
Excellent.
This could be a long encounter.
We're just standing here for 3 hours till he gets all his stuff on.
Yeah, we'll hear him coming. Is anybody, since you asked about the eye, is anybody giving any Konos any funny looks?
Not that you've noticed, no. I was just curious if you had the bandana on.
Okay.
And if you
Yeah,
were,
no,
cognizant at all of the fact that it looks a little bit different.
Yeah. No, he is cognizant. He would have gotten rid of the bandana at this point. So.
Okay. Also, where's Otto?
Otto else. We'll say Otto is not present for this.
Okay.
Let's not bring a big pelican into the throne room.
With a crow riding it.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's not add more gods to the mix.
And Imran, where is Socks?
In my hood.
Okay. Okay.
Per usual.
So, Hubertus snaps his fingers, and a person brings in a tray, and they lower it down to eye level for Axley, and it has a selection of different wines, and each glass has a little placard in front of it that says where it's from, like what area and who made it, and all that kind of stuff.
Excellent. I'll sniff them, and anything that seems exotic, I'll take.
They all seem pretty exotic to you because you're in a place you've never been. But
Okay.
you could ask him to set the whole thing down if you want.
Sure. Well, no, I'll just take the closest one then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Roll me a percentage dice.
Percentage. Okay.
Don't trust it. I didn't trust it. I'm worried.
I only have 1d10. I'll just roll it twice.
Yeah.
26.
The wine's really kind of bitter and almost on the edge of vinegary. It's a little not very good.
Okay, I'll put it back and take another one.
Okay.
Start
You
sipping
just
more.
have a fight.
Yeah. Roll a percentage dice for me again.
Okay, it's just for taste. That's good. I was really concerned. It's like
43.
Oh god.
Yeah, this one's really tanniny. It's very like acidic and tastes like you're drinking a barrel.
Really? They're that bad, huh?
Yeah. Yep. You want to try another one?
Sure, I'll try one more. Third one's the charm. I'll stick with it no matter what it is. This is probably the worst of all. 16.
Yeah. I mean, it's okay, but it's just not. Your family itself has made better wines just with your like home garden vines out back. Like it's that
Okay.
bad.
Okay, then are there any crackers on the tray?
Yeah, there's like some cheeses and a couple little chocolates and a couple of crackers. Yeah.
Okay, I'll take some cheeses and some crackers, and I'll just use the crackers to dip in the wine to deaden it with the salt.
Hubertus is watching you, and he went from smiling really big to like, like it's obvious that you don't like them very much.
Or that you're not from here.
Yeah.
This is how we do it in the Far Islands.
Maybe actually should introduce them to actual good wine.
Yeah.
The problem with good wine is that it really depends on where you grew up, because they probably think this is great wine. Because wine is an acquired taste to begin with. All wine tastes horrible. It's just what you get used to.
Nothing made me miss home until now.
Okay. So after you dunk the crackers in, Hubertus sort of gives the sommelier a signal, and the person walks away with the tray of wines, leaving you with the cup with the cracker in it.
Excellent.
And he says, "Was that not to your liking?"
Oh, I think my tastes run to a different a different flavor of spirit.
I see. More sweet?
But thank you. Sweet is always a better way to go when faced with flavors that don't appeal.
He like pulls out a little notebook and starts taking notes. So would you rather have honey or sugar cane?
I'll regale him with a tale of the fall wine festivals, the grape stomps where we would used to make a certain apple barrel wine, and talk about some of the herbs and flavorings, vinegars that would go in it.
Roll me a performance check.
Performance. 12 plus 6, so 18.
Okay. He's taking notes the entire time that you're... In fact, so much so that the queens have to have one of their guards tap him on the shoulder to make him go away. That will be all, Hubertus. We are glad that you have found a commonality with at least one of the royal court.
You have quite a diverse court of wonderful new souls, of which I've never encountered on my lone island.
Hubertus is my oldest advisor.
I'd like to spend more time with him at some point. I'm sure we'd have a lot to talk about.
And perhaps you would. His schedule is very busy, and he rarely gets to talk about food and drink. It is his hobby to create odd concoctions for us to try.
And what is his role in your court? He's your advisor, your personal advisor?
He's the chief vizier. He is the neutral party when the rest of our council is at odds.
It's good that you have such a trusted, impartial, loyal person at your side.
Yes. The council has Varus, the chief magistrate, Pictor, the minister of the treasury, our Abbot Tullus, who you are familiar with, Sabatine, the merchant guildsman, Kromov, the minister of commerce, and Hubertus, who you just met, as well as Lord Tobik. They all serve important functions as representatives of the various different powerful portions of our city. Hubertus is usually the tiebreaker.
A very important position to have.
Yes, it's unfortunate the accident happened and turned his skin blue. Otherwise, he would feel more normal, I think.
Well, how exactly did his skin turn blue?
He was trying to develop some sort of potions or something, and one of them went wrong. And
Well, I find it to be a very calming shade.
I'm just
from
getting
from
really
from the corner you hear, "Thank you." What was Konos doing?
I'm just out of character. I'm getting Willy Wonka vibes from that.
At least he's not wearing an orange wig.
Yeah.
So Nina says that you disconnected from the ennui caster.
Oh.
You want to make sure that you're still on there. That way we get your whole recording.
That's probably a good thing.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah, my Wi-Fi is terrible right now.
Yeah. They switched our meter. They switched it to an automatic reading meter. Since they've switched it, our power has like flashed out at least 3 times a week for the past 3 weeks. And like for just a second, but long enough to basically shut everything down, and then I got to start everything back. It's horrible. So I don't want to jinx it. So I'm knock on wood. So a couple more minutes go by, and the queens are just sort of sitting there almost dozing off silent, and there is a sort of uncomfortable tension that starts to arise as everybody's waiting. But after several more minutes, the herald for Tullus comes in and says, "Your Majesties, I present to you the most fine, most high priest, the Abbot Tullus of the Honorable Straben." And he bows low and gets out of the way, and Straben walks in. And Straben is wearing...
Straben.
Straben, sorry. Sorry. Tullus walks in, and Tullus is wearing... he's wearing... almost like a friar's... like a friar tuck, kind of like brownish robes with a rope tie at the waist, and they're very sort of flowy, and they sort of just hang down, and they're there's like a hood, and he's wearing a big like a amulet thing on his neck, and it has a symbol of Straben, and there's some embroidery on the robes, but it's not ostentatious at all. It is it's like it's like what you might think of if you think of like a Dark Ages monk, just sort of walking around the monastery and quietly going about their day. That's what he is dressed in right now. He comes in, and he steps in front of you all, and he bows to the queens, and he says, "Your Majesties, you requested my presence." And then he sort of puts his hands out with a flourish. He says, I am at your service. He stands up. Gives a sideways look to Emmerin. The queens look at him for several minutes. And the queen who's been doing all of the talking is silent, and the other queen, who you have rarely heard speak, looks directly at Tullus and says, "My good abbot, there is a question as to the events that occurred the other night when the dragon was dispatched. We would like to resolve issues around those events, and we are requesting your opinion upon which might be the best way to pull truth from a person. The gentlefolk behind you have suggested that there are 3 ways that this could be accomplished. Lady Imran, would you like to explain the 3 ways that this can best be accomplished that you have proposed?
Of course. We have proposed magical means by way of a spell called the Zone of Truth, and request that all participants are sure to not resist the spell. Second way is divination, directly communing with the gods in some way, shape, or form. And the third possibility is the Book of Proofs.
Tullus does not even look at you when you're talking. You're kind of behind and off to the side, and he doesn't even turn. He's just looking at the queens the whole time.
Huh?
He bows his head and he says, "Your Majesties, I will submit myself to whatever test that you would have me." And the queen looks over at Axley and says, "Which did you decide you would like to officially propose, Sir Axley of the salty wine?"
We believe that a Zone of Truth spell cast by an impartial third party would be the best way to go.
And who do you suggest cast this spell?
Well, we have the ability to cast it within our party, but that wouldn't be the best way forward. It would need to be someone that you trust, that's not in the employ of either entity.
Hubertus. And out steps the blue-skinned halfling. "Your Majesties. Hubertus, you know this spell, yes?" "Your Majesties." "Sir Axley, Lady Imran, Lord Marcel, and Sir Konos of the Haka. Do you all agree to a Zone of Truth cast by the venerable Hubertus?"
I do.
Yes.
Imran's not sure.
Or her
Or her screen's frozen.
her screen froze on a very, very judgmental look.
Good. Yeah. That tracks. You all froze as well, but I said yes.
Did Axley freeze too?
Yep.
Good.
Jeez.
Good.
Weird. Am I back?
Oh, there you are.
You
Yeah.
are.
Hi.
Oh, yeah.
Did you say yes to the...
Oh, yeah. I say, I blew. I mean, I do, and I wink at Hubertus.
Oh my god. Oh. Oh my god, actually.
Sir Abbot, do you also agree? And Tullus kind of looks behind him in both directions at all of you. And then he turns to the queens and says, "Of course, I'm willing to subject myself to any test of veracity that you would have. At any moment in time."
Is he being truthful? Do I get a sense if he's like exaggerating?
I mean, you can roll an insight check.
Or perhaps like hiding something.
Yeah,
Like, does he have something up his sleeve?
You don't need
Yeah.
to roll for that. You know the answer.
yes, but also 16.
I mean, you know what? He's acting exactly like he did the first time you met him, where he was, ostentatious and
Over the top.
remember he was very pompous, and he got he basically said, how dare you even
Yeah.
think that Straben is a false god, or whatever it was that he said.
Right. Yeah.
He acted all offended, and the nerve of you all, right? Like that's what he did. So
He probably truly believes he did this thing.
So, Hubertus says, it would probably be better if we limit the area. Yes? So let us do it in my study. And he gets a big smile on his face. Is this to your liking, your majesties? And they both kind of nod to him. Lord Tobic, you will observe. Yes, your majesty. And the queens say, very well. Then we shall await the results of the trial. And they both stand up, and as soon as they stand up, everybody in the room, other than you, unless you choose to, bows really low, and like several of the people fall to their, onto one knee and all that kind of thing, until the queens have processed out. The only people that did not immediately bow were the 4 people behind them who are now acting as guards, and the 2 main guards who are now sort of flanking them to protect them as they leave. And after a couple minutes, they're fully out of the room. Everyone else kind of rises, including Tullus, by the way. Tullus fell to one knee, and then everyone else rises when they leave. So my question is, did any of you bow or go down to one knee?
Yeah.
I would have bowed.
One of us will bow.
Yeah, I'd probably bow, and it would probably ruffle socks, and he would get mad, but I would definitely
He'd
bow.
probably fall out.
Since it's the protocol.
In my hair, yeah.
Okay, so
Small squeak.
And then as soon as they're out of the room, I turn to the group and go, I could have sworn they were sisters.
That's not how that works.
then only one of them would have been the queen.
But they could
Yeah.
I thought they were sharing. I thought they were a close family that took the job.
Then it would have been queen and princess, not queen.
Yeah.
Uh,
That was really funny, though. It made me laugh. You're lucky you rolled so high on your persuasion check and they didn't take offense. If that had been Imran that said that, oh man, she'd be in the brig right now.
Oh yeah, we were like this close to being thrown in jail for the rest of the campaign at this point. Anyway.
So Hubertus says, I'll only need 20 or 30 minutes to set up the room. You can have Justinius bring you to my lab, to my study. I mean, my study. And so you can, and it'll all be ready in 20 or 30 minutes. So Justinius, yes? And you see Justinius kind of come out of the darkness. Yes, Hubertus, of course. And then Hubertus runs off.
Does Hubertus have anything like a familiar amulet around his neck or anything like that?
You can roll a perception check.
Being paranoid. Great. That was great. If only I had better perception checks. 14.
well,
I
I'm
mean-
looking at Hubertus through the monocle.
He didn't. I mean, he was just a halfling with blue skin. It's the only odd thing about him. He was dressed very well.
Yeah, that's why I'm assuming he had stuff like of office, but I was looking for like that specific amulet that I had been wearing before.
No amulet.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
I'm looking back over my robe of acuity, which is I can see invisible things up to 120 feet away. Do I see Page Boy or anybody else that looks like they might be invisible
Nope.
in the room?
And neither did Axley if he ever looked through the monocle.
Yeah, I've
Thank you,
got it
Brian.
on now.
So Justinius says, would you like to retire to your rooms before so that you can prepare?
Sure.
Might be a good idea.
And now Karu's camera's frozen.
Yeah, like everyone on Whereby just keeps like freezing. Like,
Yeah.
they're-
That must be Whereby.
Yeah.
Whereby's
Yeah, it's
being,
probably we've been having issues with whereby for a couple weeks now.
Whatever update they did really screwed their system.
Yeah.
So, okay. So, is there anything you want to do? You've got about 15 or 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes before the Major Domo tells you, I will knock on your doors and we will all go to the study together.
Okay. So,
Amaran, you speak Primordial, right? As I recall.
I speak Primordial.
Oh, you speak Primordial. Okay.
I think I do too. No. Well, Aquan.
I speak Aquan as well. Yeah.
Oh.
Not
Which is
Primordial.
Isn't that
Before,
just
right, it's
Primordial? I think in 5th edition, if you know one, you know all of them for Primordial. Yeah. Unless it's something specific, but... Because I'm pretty sure I got Primordial from my Storm Sorcerer features. Yeah.
Because we have that one scroll. It's called the Scroll of Vile Undoing. It's in
Oh,
Primordial.
Yeah. I know
But-
what that one is.
Yeah.
because Jonas and I looked at it.
Yeah, they
You
investigated
want to
already.
do the Tullus. I think that would not...
No, not the Tullus. I have a better use for that, I think, later. That we will probably run into at some point.
I'm
So,
just
I have a question for Emmerin. If Tullus truly believes that he's the one that caused the divine intervention, wouldn't Zone of Truth let him say it?
Mhm.
So the only thing we have going for us is the one statement you have of you did a commune with your god, and your god told you that Straben was involved,
Mhm.
but Tullus was not.
Mhm.
Versus
And if he has any doubt, I would think that would translate into his answer, right? It'd be very hard for him to answer truthfully if he had some kind of doubt. And has he ever been successful in the past? He seems to be very elusive and suspicious in the way he's behaving. But worst case,
Didn't
worst
he
case,
get
if you
Sorry.
if you both believe you're truthful, then it'll be kind of an impasse, right? You'll both truthfully answer.
Yeah. Didn't he? Didn't why he's against us because when we first met, he was really defensive about him not being able to do divine stuff.
Well, yeah, I think he had tried this in the past and it never worked before.
I think he
Yeah.
tried curing the people, and that's what he couldn't do.
Correct.
So,
It-
also, like, that's why I brought that up, is because I can do that now, because we figured that out. So I know how to, and if I can prove it,
Yeah.
that can at least knock him down if he knocks
I
him.
mean, that's the thing. The individual can't hide the truth of themselves if they know that they've been fudging their abilities and their responsibilities, right?
I guess we also have to kind of evaluate what we're trying to get out of this because, like, sure, we don't really mind if Tullus publicly appears to be the one that did it, but we do
No.
want to point out that whether he helped or not, Emmerin was a force that helped in that moment. It wasn't just him.
I don't, like, the dude's an asshole. But, whatever, like, he's gonna take credit, but we also need that trust. That's what we're trying to build. I don't really care if the public worship, whatever. So, we just...
No.
I mean, at the end of the day, Straben was involved, and he is the main
Right.
piece of Straben
Right.
here. That's fine. At the end of the day, what we're trying to prove is that we also were a helping hand in
Well,
this situation.
It's that we have their kingdom's best interests in mind, and we're doing everything we can within our power to make that our priority and
Yeah.
help them because we want help from them. And the help we want from them is also in their best interest. It's not selfish.
Mhm.
We need them to trust us so that then we can start to lay out the facts as we understand it and the ways we arrived at that conclusion. If they're
Imran,
suspicious of us, we can't do that.
I thought Imran for a minute was going to ask for some diamonds or something from the queens to cast the healing spells.
I mean, my thought, and if we're not assuming we don't, just get thrown in jail for heresy for this, is to say basically try to find out where that dragon's lair was, because from Konos knows that dragons' lairs have treasure, and now there's an empty dragon's lair.
Didn't we kind of get a hint that there's more than one?
Yes.
Just
Or that it changed every time it showed up.
or it
That
changed,
too, yeah.
which I mean,
It's worse.
okay, considering we're gonna have to fight like an undead sea dragon at some point in time.
Why would you say that?
You know, just because you're a great DM, Sam. I love you.
You know who we
Uh-oh,
We lost somebody.
we lost
lost
David.
Yeah.
David.
Hopefully he can
you know
connect
what we should
back
have
up.
had?
Oh, there it is.
We should have had Gaston be the cleric who'd cast Zone of Truth.
God dang it! Oh, we should have. Oh, we need to go get him. That poor baby. He's still in the library.
Isn't he gonna be like a cleric of both Straben and Gora?
I need to go talk to him anyway because I'm supposed to go research the marriage of Goros and Straben at some point in time. Because apparently Goros is pissed that I didn't read about it.
Well, you can ask Gaston about it because he's gonna be very knowledgeable about it.
He's gonna be pissed that I missed office hours.
My question is, do we want to try and manipulate this in our favor somehow? Assuming this is going to be only a few people, I could try mass suggestion when we're all in this room with Hubertus. I'm kind of also curious to look through Tullus's eyes right now, but there's the chance that he knows what's happening. So
I don't think we should mess with it. I mean, we believe we're in the right? So it'll be, if something interferes with that, then, I mean, I don't trust Tullus at all. I think he's going to do whatever he can to try to interfere.
I mean, my concern at this point is I feel like just things have gone so not in our favor at this point. It's like we're teetering on the edge.
Yeah, but I think that's the more reason to not do anything funny, because if that backfires, then we're truly like kicked out of town and
Right.
and
Hey, relax. We got this. We're in the right. We know what the story is. We just want them to know it.
we just want to make sure that they understand that we did help. And I'm just thinking of like what else can we say while under Zone of Truth that could help.
So should probably like write this down.
Yeah, get our story straight.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the thing to stress at this point is, we're less concerned with who gets credit, and as we are with the establishing that we are, we're trying to be helpful to them.
So I think our main thing is like saying, the reason we're doing this is because we had hoped to come to, after having the dragon dealt with, come to the queens and see, hey, we did this thing, we helped you, and when we got here, Tullus had taken credit.
Correct.
Yeah. And then a question that can be asked is, is it that our interests are in those of Kalport? We're here with their best interests at heart, and those of the kingdom and beyond. I mean, that's what we're devoting our lives and our life's ambition to at this point.
And we know as truth that Straben did help, so it's not like Tullus's pleas have never been heard. Straben helped. It just required Goros's help as well.
Right. So our first point, we're less concerned with who gets credit. We just have the best interest of the people at heart. We helped in some way, shape, or form. We know for a fact both Straben and Goros were involved because I communed with Goros after the fact and asked, and she said both her and Straben were most likely involved, from what I can interpret. However, when I asked if Tullus was involved, she stated he was not. The only other reason we have to mistrust Tullus is because he told us that the people in quarantine could not be cured. However, after research in the library, we found it cured.
Well, and also, wasn't he just very evasive and non-cooperative when we were talking about the greater threat, when we were talking about Shamasa Hasit and what was going on? It just seemed like
Yeah.
he was trying to just be dismissive of it all.
I mean, he was already pissed off by then, right? Because he thought you were questioning the divine power of Straben. And also, to be fair, for you to figure out how to heal everybody from that plague that's outside, you needed the Book of Proofs.
No, that's why I was trying to kind of limit it. We did it in the library, so after researching the library.
Yeah, but
I'm just saying.
If your God had told you it wasn't possible, we wouldn't have been following it up anymore.
No, I'm just saying that from his point of view, like wow, my gain went way up. He's he asked and it was told, he doesn't have the power to heal them, and so he's saying, well, they can't be cured, but he didn't have the benefit of the Book of Proofs.
Right.
To get lawyerly from it, like he can legit say, yeah, to the best of my knowledge, there is no way to cure this, and that would be
Okay,
it.
so the problem is not that there is no way to cure this. The problem was there was no way for him to cure them,
Right.
I see
which
now.
is a
Okay.
different thing.
That's a different thing.
It just means that he, as a person, was not capable of. Like, we're not accusing Straben of not being a good god. We're just saying Tullus, as a person, not a god, was incapable
Yes.
of using Straben's power to heal.
Yeah. For having the high position he does, he's not the herbalist you want mixing up your brew.
I mean, I guess my trepidation with this is that we come out with all this, and basically they look at it and say, okay, so what?
Yeah, I mean, it
No,
again,
it's not helpful. But
it's not really Tullus. It's just that we are trying to build a trusting relationship, but they are not believing us, is really what it comes down to. We say we had a hand in this, and they're saying, no, you didn't, because Tullus took all the credit. That's the big issue that we have here, is we're just trying to build...
Well, and he's also discrediting us. Whereas, look at the discussion we're having right now. We're not discrediting him. We're just discussing the possibility that he may not be understanding the role he really played, whereas he's outright discrediting us. So he has an agenda. He has an agenda to maintain his position and take power away from our deeds.
So as you're having this conversation, there's a knock at the door,
Oh, good. We're not ready.
and it is Justinius, and he says, "Pardon me for interrupting. I understand that you are preparing for a trial of truth. But there is a crowd outside asking to see Reyla the Wise."
Oh, no. Why?
Okay, I have a suggestion. I think, Emran, you and your mother should go out and let the crowd and see what the crowd does.
Okay.
I mean,
Why?
we'll go with you, but because Reyla is Reyla, you're not Reyla, and if they start chanting you, you're gonna have to let them know they've got the wrong name.
Oh, God, I don't do well with crowds.
I know.
So Justinius says, "Do you want me to put them off until after the trial?"
No, we should deal with them now, because I don't want them standing out there waiting on us.
Are they just asking to see her?
Yeah, how many people?
Many people. You'll have to go into the guard tower and stand in front of the crenellations to look down upon
Oh, God, no!
up on the parapet.
No,
the.
that actually, makes my heart rate go straight up in the air.
They are asking for succor from the healer.
Oh, my God.
I think you should go wave to them at least. It can only help us if the people are behind us, even if the queens are not. After all, the queens represent the people.
Justinius says, "I do recommend that you wear vestments that show your priestly qualifications." He kind of nervously.
Because don't you usually just wear chainmail?
That's it. That's all I got. I don't even have my cloak because, oh my god, Gaston has my cloak.
Reyla has her priestly vestments.
Okay. Well, I guess I would probably be carrying socks because socks can't sit in my hood because I don't have my cloak.
Finding
D&D.
crap. Well, you do have your symbol of Boras. You just don't have.
Isn't that illegal? I'm not supposed to like show my holy symbol in public.
As you're talking, Justinius looks back behind down the hall, and he snaps his fingers twice, and one of the guards down at the end of the hall opens the window, and you hear outside that there's a crowd chanting, Reyla, Reyla.
Stop. No. Oh my god. Okay. I'm not going to the top. I'm not doing it. I'm gonna go out.
Justinius says, I really recommend you
You're gonna get swarmed.
going at foot level. I'm afraid that you would be carried into the crowd in their fervor, and you might be injured, or you might be pulled to the middle of the crowd, and then we would not get you back in time for the test, and not appearing for the Queen's test of truth would be very bad.
Yeah. I think we have to put it off. It's either that or you send your mom. Rayla's already dressed as a cleric, isn't she? Because that's basically all she has.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, after, because remember, she passed out, and then you took her back to the room, and when you came back, she was up and, like, clean and showered. Well, I mean, showered, they didn't have showers, but, you know, she was bathed and clean, and she actually had on all of her Goros stuff that she hadn't really been exhibiting for, because remember, Imran, the first thing she said to you was, I hear her again. She speaks to me. So she's full on back in like cleric mode.
I mean, we could send her, but that's also like perpetuating the falsehood that she was the one that did this and not me.
Well, and if the people are out there that you healed, that's not you. That's not who they saw.
Rayla and have Rayla basically say, "Hey, I'm Rayla. It is my daughter who healed you." There was a misunderstanding there.
Okay. So the window that he opened, where is it?
It's on the far like front of the long hall. You're on the second floor, and it's like there's a courtyard, but so there's a main wall into the royal manor area, and there's a courtyard, and then you're in the building. On the other side of that courtyard, the window faces the courtyard, so there's a wall a couple 100 feet from that window. There's a courtyard a couple 100 feet long, and then there's a wall. The people are beyond that wall.
Oh, okay.
So Justinius says, if you'd like, you can go to the window and peek out if you want to see the people.
Like they won't be able to see you from here.
They would probably mistake you for a simple guard.
Would they be able to hear me if I amplify my voice by 3 times?
Probably.
Want to say, like, hey, we're in a meeting.
What's the amplification? Is that your?
Give them a blessing from Goras. Bless all their lives and fortunes from Goras.
I gotta explain this first, though. I gotta explain this. I gotta tell them what's actually, like, who I actually am before I do anything, because some of them might be fake.
My suggestion still stands. You could send your mom and be like, "Hey, I'm Rayla. and it was my daughter who healed you, she was thinking of me last night.
I will do it.
I was gonna say, how do you think that's gonna go over, Mom? Do you think they're gonna be mad? Because I don't want them to take it out on you, especially if I'm not there.
I will be above. I will stand on the tower wall, and Justinius will guarantee my security. Correct, Justinius? He nods.
You feel comfortable with this?
I can hear the voice of Goras for the first time in many, many, many weeks. I feel so free right now that I am up for whatever takes us where we need to go.
Goras speaks through both of you as one. Goras's voice comes through both of you very clearly.
I agree.
In many ways, it's not who speaks the message; it's that the message gets to the people.
Give Socks a couple more stitches and then hand Socks to my mom.
Okay, she takes him.
Turn to Phineas. Point my finger at his face. Anything happens to my mom or the people, let me know. I will be there.
Of course. I will assign an entourage of elite guard to her.
This makes me nervous. Don't like this at all.
Do we
Um,
want to send Blacksley with her?
Yes. He's not allowed to talk.
What? I can't say anything? I was quiet the whole time in the Queen's chamber, and you give me no credit for that, and now you don't want me to say anything when there's a huge crowd? Come on!
We have to hear you. Sergi.
That's true.
They might. Parts don't need thaumaturgy.
Okay, so you're going to send Reyla out?
Yeah.
Okay, Justinius calls 6 guards to go with her. And as he's about to sort of walk off and go with them, one of the other messengers comes up and tells him that the test of truth is ready. So he needs to take you to the study of Hubertus's study.
All right, bring it on.
Okay, so he leads you almost exactly diagonal across the entire complex of the royal manor into a tower location, but instead of going up, you go down a couple of floors. And he lets you into this very lavish living chamber. And there's a sitting room there, and it has all sorts of brand new furniture, and it's all lush and plush, and it's not completely ostentatious, but you can tell it's a very high quality, and it's very, very comfortable, and every bit of it is sized for a halfling. And he leads you in, and he says, "This is the residence of Hubertus. Please do not drink any potions or vials of fluid that you might see around or that he offers you. It's the common word around. None of the staff drink anything that he tries to give us other than wine, and that's generally garbage. So just please be careful. But here is the room that I am not going to enter with you, but I believe Tullus is also on his way." And he sort of opens the door and waits for you to enter. The room that you enter is almost exactly square, and it has big tapestries on all four walls. And the tapestries show various scenes where it looks like an alchemist is mixing potions and creating different concoctions. And some of the scenes are, have fields of different herbs and flowers and whatnot. And then some of the scenes are like tables where the person's mixing. It's these huge, enormous, very, very well-made tapestries line all the walls. And in the middle of the floor, there is an enormous blue circle. And then inside of that enormous blue circle are 4 chairs and four chairs kind of almost in a half circle, and then facing that another single chair, and then just outside of the circle on the side is a very comfortable halfling-sized chair. And sitting in that chair when you enter is Hubertus, who hops up and says, "Welcome, welcome. Please enter and take a seat in one of the comfortable chairs here inside the Circle of Truth. I welcome you." And he bows.
Does he want us all to enter?
Yeah, there's a chair there for each of you.
I'll step in.
Okay, I'll step in.
I'll kind of return the bow and be like, "Thank you for doing this, sharing all this."
Are you kidding? This is the most exciting thing I've been in charge of for 10 years.
God, I don't know.
Did Marcel come in no problem?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I had people talking outside my window.
That's okay. So the 4 of you sit down. A couple minutes later, Tullus makes his entry. And instead of being in his robes that he was in when you had the audience, he's in more normal sort of everyday priestly vestments. So he's in what amounts to almost like a padded armor with a tunic with the symbol of Straben on it, and he's still wearing his big necklace with the amulet of Straben on it, and he has a belt on that has little pouches on it and whatnot. So it's more of his everyday kind of, if he's going to bless someone, he'll wear that kind of outfit. So he's no longer wearing the sparse robe of a Franciscan monk. He comes in and he greets Hubertus. And as he does so, he goes to Hubertus and he stands sort of close enough to him that he has to look down when he greets him. And then he has a seat in the chair. He says, "I'm not quite sure what all of you are expecting to find with your little expedition here, but I trust that the truth will come out and you will see that your distaste for me is completely unwarranted."
I just say back to him, I hope we can agree that no matter what comes out of this, there will be no hard feelings.
You have attacked my honesty. You have made the queens believe that I need a truth test. How can I not have hard feelings towards you?
Well, we're just... Hopefully you'll come to see that we're all working towards the same thing in the end here.
Perhaps. What is it that you're working toward?
I hope you wore your best padded shorts.
Well, you couldn't discredit me any further even if I did soil myself. Get on with it, Hubertus. And Hubertus says, is there anything that anyone would like to say before we begin the trial? All right, well, what I need you to do is think of 5 questions. You will each get to ask the other side 5 questions, and you're required to have an honest answer to these questions. So think of the questions, and then I need you to write them down so that I can then administer the questions during the trial. Note that you will both ask and have to answer these questions, just as the other side will have to ask and answer the questions. Nina.
This was not what we prepped.
Alright, 5 questions. What are we asking?
Do we get to collaborate on these?
Yes, you can collaborate and assume that you talked about this before, right? So you would know these questions sort of. You would have them prepped coming in. So you would have talked about, what kind of things do we want to actually ask?
So I would think, don't we want to like try to expose like that whether he had like a question asking him is, does he have the interests of the kingdom over his own in the performance of his duties, or what he claims is his accomplishments?
Honestly, I think the answer is going to be truthfully yes.
Well, that's good to know if that's the truth.
It is. It would only help him. My problem is we're not going to get him to ask the question Emran to answer.
No.
We need, unless we can ask, we can have a question asked of, Emran and not the other party, right?
Yeah.
Say that again.
So one of our biggest things was to have Emran say that she knows, or her god told her that he was not involved in the casting out of the dragon.
But we can't control that. We can't control what questions he's going to ask. We can only control what we ask of him, and our goal should be just to either try to expose his honesty or his dishonesty, right? And
Right,
it's
but
dishonesty.
But both parties ask and answer all questions, right?
Oh,
so
they do.
he's asking 5 questions, you have to answer, and then he has to answer, and then
Okay.
yeah, and then whatever questions you ask, you also have to answer.
Right. Okay, that works.
Okay, so it should be things like, do you believe that you were responsible for the divine act through your god of banishing the dragon? Do you believe that you truly communed with your god heard you and spoke directly to you and answered your prayer?
Not
I would-
believe. No.
I would throw on that, how has Straben confirmed that they answered your prayers for relief?
That's okay. Yes. Nothing about belief. This is about truth. So,
Yeah, it's gotta be absolute fact, not subjective.
do you know for a fact that your spell or your divine intervention was the one that took the dragon out?
Conversely, do you know for a fact that the other person had no hands in it? Because I can answer yes to that, he might not be able to answer.
Those are both good. Yeah, I'd go with both
Yeah.
those.
Both of those? Okay.
Intervention is not successful.
So the first question is, do you know for a fact that your divine intervention was successful in destroying the dragon? Or destroying the dragon, we don't even know if it was really destroyed, but in
Defeating it, yeah.
defeating the dragon.
Yeah.
And then the second question is, do you know for a fact that the other person's divine intervention was successful in defeating the dragon? That's not recorded, right?
No. Do you know for a fact that the other person was not involved in the successful divine intervention?
And I've got a last question to throw in here, which is, I think it'll throw a curveball and is a bigger picture item. I think we should throw in something like, do you know that there is a threat facing the kingdom, and you need your efforts are to seek the ending of that threat, requiring the aid of Kalport and Kalport's leaders, right? Because that's kind of the whole point, the whole reason we're here. And if we can use this forum to display to the queens that's really, from our perspective, I don't care what his answer is, from our perspective, that's our goal. Our goal is we're here for their best interests. We believe that to be true. We believe we need their aid, and we're here to earn their trust and their assistance.
I like that. That's a good idea. It just needs to be like more condensed, because there was like a lot of questions in there that you can kind of like work around. So it needs to be like, you know, for a fact that there is a threat.
Yeah, facing your kingdom that you're not able to deal with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so how about, are you committed to helping?
How about if there was a way to cure the sick people, would you support it, basically, or something along those lines?
That's interesting.
But it's more the sick people, right? I mean, we're trying to convince them that they need to ally with us to
Are you committed to doing whatever is necessary to protect Kalport from outside threats?
I mean, he could always turn that around and say, yes, I'm looking at 4 outside threats right now, and I'm committed to doing whatever it is to get rid of y'all.
Yeah.
But if we're saying
what's the threat?
Saying that yes, we too are committed to this, then we are saying we are not an outside threat.
What's the threat that we're trying to address? Is it the sinking? Is it Laralak's army, impending attack by his army?
So while you're all talking about this, I need you to please make me a wisdom saving throw.
Is this against the spell being cast, or is this something else?
Yes.
I rolled a 17, and let's see, wisdom.
Oh god, I don't.
21.
I don't know if I want to save.
I don't know if I want to save.
The DC is 15.
I rolled a 25.
All right.
Yeah, I rolled a 17.
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, I am worried now.
So Huberta says, "Are you ready?"
No.
Just a moment.
We have 2 questions.
Only 2.
We only have 2?
We only have 2 questions. I don't know how to phrase the like help one.
So break them up into smaller questions, and we'll have more. That's fine.
Do you have the best interests of Kalport and its people at heart?
Do you believe that Shamasa Hasit and Laralak is impending doom descending on Kalport and the kingdom?
That's a good one.
And do you believe that it's in Kalport's best interest to ally with you to fight this threat?
And then we can follow up that if we can show that that's, or if we can show that we're working to protect Kalport from the 2 of them, will you support us?
Okay, so are you ready?
More like, will you support whoever would be willing to help?
That's a better one.
Alright, Marcel, you got this.
So one of you needs to roll initiative just so that we can determine who. It's a contested initiative just to determine who's going to ask first. And so
Yeah, okay. Go for it.
17.
Okay. You ask your first question first. So Hubertus spends some time casting the spell, and the blue circle that you are sitting in starts to glow. And he says, "All right, you all get to ask your first question."
Do we know what we saved against?
I was gonna say, do we know if we're? I think we
No.
know if we're affected by it, right?
You all saved. You know that you saved.
But we
Oh,
don't know what
so-
it's against.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering if like it was an attack spell from another entity, we would know that, right?
Right. Yeah. No, it wasn't anything like that.
Oh, so this is pointless because we all saved.
But he just cast it.
No.
now, right?
You were saving against something else. So he just cast the Zone of Truth right now.
Yeah.
So if you want to try to save against that spell, you can, or you can voluntarily fail that save.
Yeah, well, voluntary fail, because
Yeah.
they'll know.
I'm not resisting the Zone of Truth, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so I
first
can ask
question.
one But, all right, first question. Do you know for a fact that your divine intervention was successful in defeating the dragon?
Yes, of course it was. Otherwise, how did the dragon disappear?
Okay, so they both answered yes.
So now Hubertus says, "Okay, and now you all must answer that same question. Do you know for a fact that the divine intervention of Tullus took the dragon away?"
No.
No, that's not the same question.
What was the question?
Do you know for a fact that your divine intervention was responsible for defeating the dragon?
Yes, that is what you asked, and now that's what you must answer.
He's asking us. He's asking us if we know for a fact that his intervention
No,
is
no, that our divine.
okay. That ours.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we witnessed it firsthand.
But, well, so Konos and Axley and Marcel cannot answer yes, because you
No,
didn't
we're-
cast divine intervention.
Yeah, if we go with your as in mine,
Oh, I see.
then the three of us have to go, no, we didn't have any intervention.
Could I respond? Yes, I know for a fact that Emran's divine intervention.
You can
Say
respond
you
that, but Hubertus is going to tell you that's not the question that was asked.
Yeah.
Then I don't answer anything.
So, Imran, do you answer in the affirmative? Okay. And now it is Tullus's turn to ask a question. He says, "Have you broken the law by casting spells in public?"
Yes.
No.
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 Neither have I. Your question.
Do you know for a fact that the other person was not involved in the successful divine intervention?
That the other person, or who? Did you
That
name the other person?
That the other person who said yes was not involved in the successful divine intervention.
No, I did not ever ask that question, so I do not know that for sure, of course. If you are saying it in this zone of truth, then it must be true, right?
Yes.
He sort of looks at Hubertus. Hubertus, is your zone of truth active? And Hubertus says, "You know it is, Tullus."
So then Emran has to answer the same question.
I know for a fact that the other person who answered yes, their divine intervention was not successful. They did not have. They were not involved.
How dare you? Hubertus, is that a lie? Hubertus says, no lie has been detected, Sir Abbot.
Spitting facts here, bro.
He's obviously shocked. He says, but what is your main purpose for being here?
To obtain help from Kalport in defeating Shamasa Hasit and their minions.
And Laralak's impending army of undead.
And to protect Kalport from this attack.
And to reverse the sinking.
Your priest hasn't spoken. What is your main purpose for being here? To overthrow me?
No, definitely not. To help the people of Kalport in facing this threat that my companions have told us. And then the other threat that might come their way.
If our purposes align, why must you attack me? Why did you attack me the very first night?
We didn't. You just thought we were attacking you.
You have questioned my faith and my powers. And now you have shown that I didn't do the thing I thought.
Tullus, we don't want to overthrow you. In fact, we'd rather have you as an ally in the position of power you have. The problem is, when we came forth with Goras, you attacked us and Goras.
Do you believe you are the chosen of Goras?
I don't know what the chosen one is. What does that mean?
That you have been divinely inspired and directly spoken to and affected by the goddess Goras.
I believe she's the chosen of Goras.
Yeah, same here.
So do I.
I guess the crowd of people outside would probably say yes too, so I mean, I don't know about like a chosen one, but we have shit to do, and we're trying to get it done, and it's gonna help a lot of people, so if that means yeah, then yeah, sure.
At the end of the day, the purpose of this truth spell was not for the queens, but for you, Tullus.
I now also believe you are the chosen of Goras. But I am afraid of what that means for our people. They worship Straben.
That shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, Straben and Goras go hand in hand. They're not... You can't really have one without the other as far as I'm concerned. As far as I know, there was...
If Straben and Goras go hand in hand, why shouldn't the disciples of Straben and Goras also go hand in hand and work together?
This is...
Have you heard of the marriage between Goras and Straben?
Of course I have.
Okay, because that's not something I knew. That's not something I was taught.
But yet you speak of it.
Well, we stumbled upon it when we were in the library, and it was the first I had heard of it. And when I talked to Goras concerning what happened with the dragon and everything else, she mentioned that if I had a better understanding of the marriage between Goras and Straben, I would understand a lot more. So, if you would be willing to help me learn, I would welcome it.
The marriage of Goros and Straben is a long, long ancient history tale, and it tells of the separation of the two of them, and then they're reuniting. But the issue is that when they come together, they cause destruction, so they must be separated. But they both want the same thing, but somehow there is destruction involved, and neither one... I don't even know how to express it. Their power is to remain separate, and when they come together, it creates a coalescence that is too powerful, that leads to a destruction of the creations of the other deities, and so they were forcibly separated. Every once in a while they come back together, and it leads to destruction every time. They travel through eternity trying to reconnect with each other, at once knowing that it will destroy the people who worship them and therefore possibly destroy them, and at once not understanding how to stop the desire.
That sounds like my ex.
Cameron, didn't you mention last night that Straben and Goros both had a hand in the destructive force that killed the dragon?
Mm-hmm.
So both of the gods did, at the very least, touch to destroy that dragon, and yet there was very minimal damage to the people and the town.
It seemed that the gods had the people's interest in mind when they did this.
Sometimes a destructive force can be used for good.
Could it be that Tullus's divine intervention failed specifically to avoid the destruction of Kalport?
Actually, that's really smart. That might be it.
If both divine interventions had worked, then we'd be in a ruined city.
Mm-hmm.
I will go to the queens immediately and resign my position.
Oh, that's not.
You should be elevated.
No, definitely not.
You have the powers and the will of the deities to protect the city, the kingdom.
You managed to heal people last night in a way that has never been seen before by clerics. And you have the key to healing those who were wounded.
I thought that was Reyla. Reyla the Wise, who is outside right now ministering to the people.
You're looking at Reyla the Wise, the younger.
What?
Junior.
Emerin had a bit of a... She was thinking of her mother, and she doesn't like the attention. So she gave her mother's name last night. However, Reyla also seems to have been touched by Goros through Emerin. So it's not too far of a stretch.
That's why you don't think you're chosen. You think it's your mother.
I think she'd prefer it that way.
Why wouldn't it be?
Like I said, she doesn't like the attention.
Should we elevate your mother, then? She can become the Abbot of Goros, the Abbotess of Goros.
I think your mother would be better suited to lead this.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. I don't know. I feel like we should definitely reconvene with the queens and see what's. But now that everything's a little bit more
Sorted.
Yeah, we have everything on the table now, and we have reached an understanding. I think. I glance at Tullus.
He nods.
I think we can reconvene with the queens and ask what needs to happen in terms of. I don't feel like we need to step down. You've led these people long enough. They know you. They trust you.
No.
Now that we
No.
vouch for your trust,
I lead with faith, and my faith is shaken. I am not in a position to lead, but Reyla is, or you. But you're
Reyla did
declining.
Reyla did just recover her faith in a very amazing way. I mean, we're gonna have to ask her too, but
right? We're gonna, yeah. I don't know if she's gonna be on board with that.
Have you seen her minister?
No, but she also has my dad because my dad is here too.
yeah, but she's always been a cleric before us, hasn't she?
I think so.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
So this
Yeah,
isn't anything new to her. And in a way, your faith stems from your faith in your mother, so...
I mean, y'all don't have to convince me.
The other option is you become the ostentatious one to show up for formal parties, which isn't really what we need right now. But they do need someone who has a lot of faith to take on the position of High Priest of Kalport. And I think your mom fits the bill.
I mean, I think she does too. I just don't know how well she's going to respond to being tied down. She's always traveled. She's always been off and about and wandering. So I don't know how being tied
she's
to...
been through a lot recently, so maybe being
she
tied down and helping people might...
Hubertus is still over there taking copious notes. Everything you're saying, he's like...
Oh, it's okay, it's fine.
So did we get to where we're at with this kumbaya with only 3 questions? Don't we still have a couple questions left?
I mean, the other questions have kind of been answered. Honestly, through
Okay. Well,
conversation.
then I'd like to ask, how do you go pee in that big platinum thing?
It is very difficult. That's why I have an entourage when I wear that.
Oh, you better give like a lot of notice for that one, huh?
Yes. It is rare.
What about that invisible guy that was following us? Do you know who sent him?
No.
Oh no.
Oh shit, he wasn't yours?
My what?
God, oh no.
Oh,
I don't even know what you're talking about. I did not send an invisible person after you.
There was an invisible person
following
sneaking.
me and Axley at the party last night.
Who would we lose?
We lost Craig. Oh, that's great.
Lost Craig.
We need to restart it.
Oh,
No, wait.
You don't know if you did it save the recording?
No, we'll need it. Yeah, it saves the recording. We will need a new.
Here's a new link. Yeah.
So should I close out the one I currently have?
Yeah, because that one finished recording. As soon as Craig gets kicked off, he cuts the recording.
Okay.
Craig split the party.
Yeah, so here's the new link. There's the new link. I put it in Discord.
God, that's not good. Oh boy. Wait,
yeah, our suspicions were cast on the wrong person.
which means we still have someone who could... I mean, it could have been one of the queens. Let's be real.
I mean, it could have.
If that's the case, we're in a bad situation.
I mean, it could have been one of the queens, just because they don't trust us yet. But I think it might be worth bringing up the fact that someone in Royal Library was following us while invisible.
Well, I'm willing to go invisible in the presence of the queens at a formal function. That's not a small thing. That's a huge risk to take.
So they either had permission from the queens,
Or maybe they were, I don't know, maybe they were there to look for somebody else, just happened to take an interest in us as well.
or
They were
there's
spending
someone
quite a
else
bit
in the
of all
court
their effort.
yeah, or there's
So-
someone else in the court who...
At that point, Tullus stands up and said, Hubertus, you will make your report to the queens. Please take me with you when you give your final report, as I will resign at that time. And he turns and he leaves.
Do all you guys like feel like you just got blown up because a truth bomb just went off in here?
Yes.
Yeah, we're gonna rename Zone of Truth to Truth Bomb.
Yeah. I did locate creature? If that works.
For
We might
what?
be able to locate the person?
Oh, we could locate him with our rod, right? That points out.
Oh, that's right.
We could follow it to the source.
Yeah,
In
we
fact,
could follow-
we could
find
ask the
him.
question, who sent him, and we could follow it to the source.
But don't you need the person's name?
Yeah, you need
Do we?
Oh, I'm pretty sure you did.
Did we get his name?
I don't think
I
so.
don't think you got any answers out of him besides, I'm just doing what I've been told to do. Leave
Yep.
me alone.
God damn it.
Yeah.
That is unfortunate.
I mean, he was dressed as a page, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Just
we
line up all 100 pages and see if you can find him.
I was gonna say we can maybe
Where's
ask.
Wally?
We might be able to get a name if we give a description well enough.
out of just Denise, maybe. Yeah, I mean, he probably knows them all pretty well.
I'm gonna walk over to Hubertus. I'm gonna say, Hubertus, I have a gift for you. I think you'll find this to your liking based on your interests. I'm gonna give him the book that I have called Herbs and Tonics of Kalport. Or of Kalrot, I mean.
Oh yeah, he's. You're giving me a book? Oh, he's in awe. He drops the piece of parchment that he was writing on, like he just fumbles and he like looks at the book. Wow, thank you. This is going to be excellent for my use. I will be able to make the most wonderful potions and tinctures with this. I will be able to heal the plague.
Enjoy, my blue-skinned brother from another hairy-footed mother.
Yes, perhaps. And he starts like flipping through the book already.
Before, maybe after Tullus leaves, can I run him down?
Can you can like rush out after him and try to catch him, sure.
Can I catch him? Tullus, I have a question, possibly a request. Hold on, where's the spell? Do you maybe have some components for some spells? Specifically a diamond worth 300 gold.
What spells do you need to cast?
When we were not in the Zone of Truth anymore. We were researching in the library, we found what we think is a cure for the people in the quarantine. The Revivify spell. But I need components, and they don't have a whole lot of time.
What are the components?
A diamond worth 300 gold.
His eyes get really big.
Yeah.
You need one for each person.
Yeah. Maybe not if that whole old mist stuff happens again, maybe. But that's a long shot.
What gold
Only
mist?
one. Huh?
Gold mist, you said gold mist.
Yeah. When I cured the people in the... I thought we talked about this. The people in the...
Tullus wasn't there.
Well, I explain what happened.
Okay. Yes, in the Abbey we have a set of supplies, and we can probably get you enough. But it's going to clear out the coffers of the entire... I mean...
Here's the thing. We know of a dragon that is no longer alive. We can raid its hoard. If you give us the diamonds, we can repay you. whatever the dragon had in its hoard.
Well, your mother is now the chief deific figure in the city, so I think...
I'm gonna run that past the queens first, I think.
And your mother.
And her.
The treasury of the church is a separate entity from the treasury of the kingdom. So there is no need to run it by the queens unless you feel that that is what you would like to do.
Well, I need to at least run it by my mom.
Very well. I will put the workmen to work right away, forging the temple into an honorific to Goros rather than Straben. Perhaps your mother should come by to direct the work. It is the most richly supplied building, and therefore the most honorable for a deity. So it is only fair that we should make that the location of the Church of Goros, and the current Church of Goros can be transitioned into a temple to Straben.
Now I feel really bad. God,
This is... This is not so steal your mind in the chat says, why not both?
Because that'll destroy the world.
No. Okay. Well, okay, don't do anything just yet. Like, just, how about we sit on this for like a day or two? Because we just learned a whole lot of shit, and our minds are probably a little, like, reeling from all this. So just let everything settle. Don't make any rash decisions while we're all upset. And then in a couple days, let's reconvene and chat. Okay?
I don't think we have that kind of time.
I know, but he doesn't know that.
I will be resigning as soon as Hubertus is ready to make his report, and knowing him, he'll use some sort of trinket or arcane implement to write his report, and it's probably going to be ready very quickly.
And the thing is, a city this big cannot be without a main
High priest. For very long.
But why don't I get my mom and let's sit down and talk about this? Because I feel like I know. Oh.
We've set things in motion. We can't go back. But yes, we should talk to your mother about this and see if she's okay with this. Hopefully she is, because the other alternative is you, and I don't think you know that.
My only concern is, like, the people... She already told the people that I was the one that did all the stuff.
Yeah, but she's also apparently administering to the people, so apparently the people still like her.
That's good.
We should check in and see what she's
Well,
up to.
I'm gonna sprint down the hallways looking for my
No
mom.
running in the hallways.
So
Yeah, we'll go.
she is still out on at the top of one of the walls, the outer walls, and speaking to the enormous crowd outside.
We'll go there. Like, try to, like, not be visible from, like, the crowd version.
But I do want
Side.
to listen for like a hot second.
You hear that in the crowd they are chanting. There are various different chants at different times as you're approaching, because you have to walk through the courtyard to get over to the walls there. And you hear as soon as you're outside, you hear the chants, and you can hear that they are some of them are sort of a slow Reyla the wise, Reyla the wise, Reyla the wise, and some of them are they end up sort of contorting into a praise Goros kind of chant. And then there's almost this sort of festive, like if you've ever been to a sporting event where they start clapping a rhythm at the same time, you know, and they do that, and then there's some stomping that happens. It's almost it's like a pep rally almost. But when you get some of the guards like lead you to a stairway that takes you up to the top of the wall so that you don't have to be right where she is on the wall. You can actually get to the top of the wall so that you're kind of lateral to her. You're kind of off to the side, down on sort of the other side of the length of the wall. And she's standing on top of one of the, crenellated, crenellation means, it's when they build it up and then it goes down and then up and down. So it's kind of like the typical castle type of style. She's standing on top of one of the crenellations, and she's got her arms out and she's just yelling to the people and just telling stories about like the parables of Goros and just the different things that she knows about and the different stories of how Goros gathers followers, and just sort of these different very short little vignettes. But so she'll tell a story for like 3 minutes, and then when she is done, they sort of applaud, and then they start the chanting and the stomping and the clapping, and when you look down, you see that there is just a sea of people. Everywhere you look, in between the houses and every alleyway, at the closest to the wall, all of those people look like the poor people, right? That have come to try to get. Remember, they were coming for succor. They were coming for healing and for spiritual nourishment from her, because of all the rumors about the actual healing, and then also just the aftermath of that is that they feel fulfilled, spiritually speaking. But you can see that even as you're looking, there are people coming out of houses and buildings and just standing and trying to sort of jockey for the easiest position so that they can look up and see her. And probably most of the people can't even hear what she's saying when she's talking, because there's so many people now. And it's not like she has a microphone. So, but there is just waves of adoration and, people, we lost somebody, and people, just praising her, and, so that's what you see.
She's so much better at this than I am. Okay. When she kind of like finishes one of her like 3-minute long parables, I'm gonna try and grab her attention without being seen.
I mean, you can have a guard like get her attention.
Yeah, that would be better.
Okay. You want to like motion to her? Or what are you trying to tell her?
Yeah, I'll have a guard send her down, just kind of like in a more private section, just somewhere where we can chat for a hot second.
Okay, so she starts to begin to tell the people that she must go now, and that she'll be back to minister to them and to teach them of the glory of Goros and like all of these things. And the crowd starts chanting her name and saying, no, don't leave us, and all that sort of thing. And she turns, and the guards sort of escort her down away from the edge of the battlement. And she'll meet you sort of down in the courtyard where no one can get to.
When I see her, I run up and give her a hug.
She hugs back. Did you see all the people?
It's so good.
They're praising Goros.
Amazing.
The strength of Goros is increasing. I can feel it. Did you answer your questions that you wanted?
Abbot and we all came to an understanding. His faith was shaken similar to yours was, but not as severe, I don't think. But at least for the time being, he wants to step down as abbot, and he has recommended that you take his spot.
Me. But what about you? You're younger. You have more strength than Goros. You can heal groups of people at the same time.
Did you see the group of people that you were talking to?
I have heard what you did.
Yeah, but that's a simple miracle. That's one simple thing.
There is no simple miracle.
Here's the thing. In the long run, you're going to be better for this. Because you can talk to the people. You don't have to perform miracles to gain their support and transform their faith into something beautiful for Goros. I can't do that. At least maybe not yet. You're going to be better off for this than I am.
Roll me a persuasion check with advantage, please.
Hold on. Persuasion is not bad. Okay. 218. So 22. Oh my god, really?
Imran, how do I go about such a thing?
You're good at figuring it out. And with Goros strengthening, she'll be with you.
She is strong. She hands you Socks, who was at her feet the whole time she was preaching. Socks was sitting on her feet. I must think on this, but
Yeah, of course.
I'm tired now. I must retire. I've been up for a very long time, I feel like. Will I see you this evening?
Yeah, I'll be around. I think
Okay.
we might have to have another meeting with the team here shortly. But I'll be around at least sleep.
Okay. She hugs you. She is escorted by her 6 guards. She has an entourage. She has a bodyguard entourage.
Like, considering she's gonna be the next abbot, then yeah, maybe that's appropriate.
Mm-hmm. And they're all like, yes, we made it. Because she's going to be the abbot, and they're probably not going to be reassigned. They're still just going to be her guards because they're her guards, right? So they just struck it big.
Yeah, maybe.
know how big they just struck it.
Yeah, big and problematic. But, it sounds good at first.
Now they're on rogue detail.
Mm-hmm. So, there's probably about 2 hours before Hubertus will have his report ready for the Queens. So is there anything that you specifically want to do in those 2 hours?
If Konos has time, he will like to make this trip back. He's going to try to inquire to learn the location of the office of the Company of the Eastern Sun in Kalport, because he's got a delivery. Because he's got a delivery to make.
The mail.
The mail.
It's not hard to find them at all, except for the fact that there is an enormous crowd in the streets.
There has to be a side door out of the castle.
Yeah, but everything around the castle is like 2/3 of it is just full of people.
Crowd. Just fly.
And they're not yet dispersing. They're probably hoping for an encore, like at a concert. Some people start to leave or something, and the other people are like, no, we have to do an encore. So you can probably get there, but it might take you a while.
More than 2 hours. Okay, tomorrow then. Yeah, he'll be present for when this report is delivered.
Okay.
Mel's waited for years. I think it can wait for another day. Who'd we lose this time?
Looks like David popped off the Discord. He'll probably come back on in a second. It's 10 o'clock here anyway, so we might want to pause and do a short debrief.
I think that's a good place to pause.
I still see your video, but so is there a topic that anybody particularly wants to discuss?
Our topics are still pinned.
Mm-hmm.
We have 4 things that I had listed. I don't know which ones you guys are interested in, but the first one was talking about paid and professional DMing versus paid cast of players for stream podcasts and how that affects things. Effects of just streaming on both the DM and player narrative choices. Something on topic just because of how things are going nowadays. This is finding players or GMs online, dangers, what to look for, though that might be a longer one just because there's a lot to say about how to handle orphan campaigns, where to look, and kind of thing. And the other one I had added recently was quiet players and how to get them engaged both as a player and as a DM.
Welcome back, David.
My Discord died.
Yeah.
For the last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
We stopped when you jumped off.
Yeah, we stopped. We're basically going to start. We're going to have like a short debrief, but we were discussing what topics we might want to talk about.
Okay.
Is there something that you would like to specifically address?
I can't think of anything specific.
Okay.
You can look at the pins as well, because the pin is where we have the...
Mm-hmm.
And the very first pin is Sam's other list of stuff. I'm not sure if it's up to date in terms of which ones we've done.
Yeah, I have no idea. Well, so let me start with, and we can do an official debrief, but let me just ask, how you feel about your characters right now. It's been a while since we've done that kind of a check-in. Like, do you feel like you're fulfilling what you had thought about your character when we started?
Getting there for Konos, and then we talked about a while ago, like his whole background is deep sea diver and whatnot, and there's been none of that has happened. So we kind of had the notion of discussion a while ago, from I guess from that standpoint, I was just the campaign setting being more for more on land than under the sea at this point.
Right.
But I mean, obviously he's still happy to be tagging along with this group and involved in what they're doing.
Well, that underwater stuff might be coming up pretty soon, so.
Yep. Oh yeah. No, I think that's definitely going to be part of the whole climax of everything.
Yeah.
Or a climax. Because this whole thing could have multiple climaxes. Climaxes.
Yeah, you've got a lot of irons in the fire.
Yeah.
You're getting pretty hot. Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat. A lot of the flashier ideas I had for Marcel haven't really come up, mainly because we've ended up being a very low combat game, and that's something that just kind of happened, and so a lot of the like interesting things I built up for the character haven't really come to shine. But I know we're not gonna get out of combat with divine intervention next time, so I'm sure it's gonna come up sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Well, and you did some fancy spell slinging in the bone golem fight.
Yeah, that was an interesting one because we managed to like turn via spells a combat into a like puzzle situation, and that was neat too.
Yeah.
Like being able to find like ways to use your spells, and like yeah, we're in a city where they specifically don't want you using spells, so we've been playing nice because we want them to like us.
Yeah, it's like for a character that is used to getting by primarily on his magic, Cronus has had an awkward couple of last couple of days.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I was even going through some of the things I have, like if we wanted to track down like the page, but I'm like, yeah, I've got something that could find him, but he's gonna know about it. So a lot of the things he has are like tend to kind of be double-edged swords. So they're high risk but high reward as well.
Yeah, I purposefully made that rule in this city to be a very challenging kind of environment. Now I didn't know I was gonna. I mean that was the set of rules before I knew who your characters were. So I didn't do that specifically to screw you guys, but it was interesting that you all turned out to rely heavily on magic, and then you're going to a place where there's no magic. Or no magic allowed without some certain consequence. Although with Reyla installed as the head of the church, that could change. That could change.
At the very least, the whole no following other gods kind of
Yeah,
thing.
it was no open deity worship. It's not a law against following other deities. It's just no one's allowed to openly, other than in the temple proper when you're actually at worship service, you're not allowed to. Which, of course, that whole thing just got blown out of the water because of Reyla standing up on the battlement and, preaching to half the town. But that was, so that's why I say there is some turmoil here that will be kicked up. And you also learned about turmoil last time with the Ratmen.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
So
stratification and hierarchy. I was going to say, like, to go back to the whole magic and whatnot. It basically, it kind of forces us to rely on more of our brains and our wits as players, as opposed to what's on our character sheets. Which is good to do from time to time.
Yeah. You guys already do that a lot because we do have such a low combat game. So I didn't think that was going to be a challenge for you. It was. But what about Imran?
I was actually talking with a friend about Emmeline the other day, and honestly, she became a character that's more. She became a little bit more like detached from me. So like in the beginning, she's my very first D&D character ever. I was like, okay, well, just kind of like a self-insert, like nothing terribly difficult to roleplay, like just someone who's kind of like similar to me. And she's turned out to be like a lot more combative, a lot more blunt, still similar, but like I like how she's turned out. In terms of like mechanics, again, there's some spells that I'm still really looking forward to using in combat at some point in time. But I do. The one thing I will say is I feel bad because I feel like a lot of the story has started to like revolve around the narrative between like Emmerin and Reyla, and I think that's partially because like when we first.
That
We
was
lost Craig again.
Craig.
Oh, jeez. Hold on one second. Good Lord. All right, Craig. This time it didn't tell me that Craig.
yeah. That's very fun for you piecing everything together.
He didn't join this time either.
He may have crashed. 'Cause, yeah, he usually does give a notice.
Oh, it helps if I spell his name right. Oh. What is it telling me now? He says he's already recording. He says I can't join because I'm already recording. That's what he just told me. Oh, and now he's telling me fail to join. Huh. Okay. Well, either way, we'll have this this video, so I can cut the audio from this at the end here. So, but I do want to let you finish talking, and then I'm going to ask David about Axley. So.
Oh yeah, just real quick. I think partially because the story has started to like revolve around that is just because when we started, it was basically just me and David, and we had to figure out a way to get off of, or why we would leave Trastenfin, and it was like, oh yeah, I had a vision, and that's kind of how it snowballed. And like, I do kind of feel bad because I feel like that has been like the central like motivating like thing that's kind of driven the story. So I'm looking forward to kind of like settling everything here and like really starting to get into like Marcel's backstory and Tonos's crap, and then who the hell were those people on Trastenfin that were looking for Axley, like his relatives. Like, I'm looking forward to start being kind of like backseat and just kind of like watching and listening and like really delving into other characters, I guess. I feel like I fleshed out Em enough, and she's got a pretty decent story, and like she'll be involved for sure, but I'm looking forward to like a little bit of a different narrative. That makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. David, what about Axley?
As far as like fulfilling the character's ambitions, I think that there's been a lot of positive movement in that direction. For Axley, he's always wanted to just get off of the island and get into sticky situations, get out of them, explore, adventure, and make it to the library in Kalport. So realizing that goal has been like a fundamental focus of the character. So he's not done with the library at all for a long while. He's going to want to go back, even if this adventure ends. That's where he's probably going to want to spend a lot of his time. But the character itself has always been kind of like a support character in the sense that like none of my spells that I select are combat focused. I take spells that are like kind of pinch hitter spells. They're good for manipulating the environment and the situation and kind of being creative with. But I didn't ever take him in the direction that I wanted him to have like centrally focused, type of a role. So I'm kind of pretty happy just supporting the story that Emran right now is the center of. So he's good. He's fulfilling his adventure desires.
Well, that's good. Yeah, I'm happy to hear that. What about Karu?
I mean, Marcel is perfectly fine with Emran being the star here. They kind of panicked when the queens were all like, "Oh, you're royalty." And you're like, "No." But yeah, that kind of like, it's interesting because when there's always this like fear, I guess, that when the story goes heavily into one character, that you're worried about the other people feeling either left out or shadowed, or just that there's like too much is hanging on one person. But then it turns out that as long as everyone's invested in the story, no one really minds it because they want to see where that goes. And there's, I think, like, yeah, I haven't had issues with like feeling left out or anything. To be fair, I'm playing a character that has no issues, very little filter from brain to mouth, and tends to just have the first thing that comes to their mind. And yeah, I mean, I like Marcel, and I like where everything is going. I'm interested in seeing what happens. I think one thing that I feel like would be really interesting to see is what happens. Like, because Marcel has talked a lot about, like, yeah, what their people would say about someone finding the swords and everything. But that's what Marcel says. And it would be interesting to see what the actual Lutrinian people said. But then again, like, yeah, as far as I'm aware, like, the Lutrinians tend to be very decentralized. There's not, they tend to be like ones and twos, not just you go and there's a bunch of Lutrinians there and they're going to be like, oh yeah, you're the new king. And I'm like, no.
Yeah. Well, also, like, they, oh, now Craig's back, I guess.
Make your mind up.
Okay. I'm just gonna turn Craig off because we already have yeah. Bye, Craig. He says, okay, but I'm not recording that channel. All right, well, whatever. Yeah, I mean, there is always a danger. There's a weird thing that happens when you have a character with a strong part in the storyline, and that there is, from the DM's perspective, a fear that you end up focusing too much on one particular person or one particular PC. The thing is that with this particular game, we had to figure out what to do with Reyla, so that's the way that it went, and this is what we're doing with Reyla. And now Imran can leave the city, right, and not worry about her mom, right, and not worry about, oh, what am I doing with my parents? So that in particular is going to no longer be sort of a main part of the storyline, pretty much. I mean, it's a major thing that happened, but, you know, so after that, then it's just Imran now being a part of this adventuring group, right? So that becomes, that's going to sort of lessen, and then and everybody else's is going to kind of go back up. So
I think it's important to keep in mind that, like, especially when you're doing long-form campaigns like this, yeah, there's going to be moments where one particular character gets the focus, but the idea is that everyone's going to have their moment of things being like the spotlight being shown on them, and that there's going to be a moment where your character is the one that's hogging the spotlight, because that's just the nature of, you can't really do that for everyone at once, because then it just becomes a jumble.
Right. I feel like Konos has the storyline with the Coral and with Bolam, and that's intertwined into the major story. And Imran has the storyline with her mom, and then there was also, you know, Laralac needed her for something, so that's related to the story. Marcel has the sword and wore the amulet for so long that's part of the story, right? That's going to have repercussions to the rest of the way the things go. And Axley is sort of the only one who doesn't have a major, like, handhold in, you know, or maybe I should say foothold in the story, or at least it seems that way, except then you've got Blacksley. And Blacksley came into existence because of something that Axley said. So obviously there's something going on there, and it hasn't really been addressed in a really long time. It was a question mark at the beginning, but then it didn't really. So that part is going to start coming more into the fore, possibly, depending on what you all do. So I hope that everybody has felt like they've gotten at least some spotlight time, and that you're satisfied with how much is focused on the characters, and understanding that shifts, and that it's not always, you know, 25% each or whatever.
Yeah. No, I definitely feel like, you know, Konos has gotten, you know, his good share of spotlight moments.
Yeah.
And since it feels like the zone of truth is still going, I will admit there was a brief moment when Konos was thinking, if Emran becomes high priest, Konos becomes the captain. First officer. But like, no. Not going that route.
To be fair, we had to push captainhood on Emran. Emran didn't really want it.
Yeah.
That does seem to be Emran's kind of MO, is like, not being very reluctant to accept, visible positions of authority.
Mm-hmm.
Or we've all had positions of authority kind of thrust into us. That's the other thing that Kronos has going on with the Haka deal, and being the chosen one, and turning into the chieftain of the Haka against his will.
Yeah, which I feel like I've been neglecting, but he's also been separated from that for a while too, because they've been shut up too.
Yeah, they ended up getting quarantined, right?
Right.
Because they were actually at the helm of Sharkface's ship.
Yeah, some of them were, yeah.
So, anyway, well, I think that's enough to chat about. We did not level up again this time. We leveled up last time, right? Or after the last.
One or two.
Yeah.
When we gained like 2 levels worth of leveling from.
Right. Well, because I had but so. What I'm hearing about what you might want to do next time, you're going to deal with Reyla and try to convince her that this might be the best thing. You're going to try to revivify everybody. You're going to try to go find the dragon's lair. Is that what I'm hearing?
Are we? That was kind of something I threw out in just like a little bit of a panic.
That was, this is how we repay your diamonds.
Yeah. Wait, do we need to? Let's wait and see what happens first with the revivify.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned earlier, Kronos would want to go check that out either way.
I mean, if we have the suspicion that there may be more than one dragon, it might be a good idea to go check it out. We also we did have some stuff that we needed to figure out in the library still about Shimasa Hasid that we had left for another day, and then figure out how the heck we're going to solve the problem of the gates and all that.
Yeah, that's our big end goal.
Yeah, I feel like we're gonna be plane hopping soon.
Oh God.
Yeah.
We did reach level 11.
Everybody remind me to take this ring off when we get to the blue plateau. It attracts lots of bad things.
Oh.
So I will have to take that off.
I'll say hopefully we get to level up at least one more time before we go to Blue Plateau, because there's a certain invocation I want to take before we do that I think would be helpful for everybody.
I mean, I don't think you're going to be going to the Blue Plateau next session, and I think you probably will level up after next session, so I think it's
Especially
a pretty...
I was going to say, that means
right.
fighting a dragon.
Well, not necessarily, but
I
mean, there's other things that could happen.
Yeah. So that's why I moved into the dragon's lair. I don't want to kill more wyverns. I like wyverns. So upset I wasn't able to get through those wyverns.
Yeah, I mean, one of them was already damaged, so it didn't want to hear your...
temperamental teenagers, weren't they? Like,
they were young mates, yeah.
Yeah, they were like...
Yeah. But what that also means is they were not at full adult strength, so...
Right.
Yeah, bigger and better. Quick question about leveling. Like, if we're looking at, like, for that point, if we're looking at a spell that has, like, very, very specific, costly components, like, how would might we go about getting things like that? Like say, like scrying or plane shift or something along those lines.
Like, what's the components that you're...
Well, scrying I might not take because I got the robe, but plane shift, hang on, it's like it's a tuning fork that's...
That one's really specific because you need a tuning fork that is attuned to the
specific plane. Yeah. Yeah, it's a forked metal rod worth at least 250 gold attuned to a particular plane of existence, which we might not even need because we have the gate spell, we have the curiosity, we have the whole cube of faces, but that which feels like it would cover a lot of things. I just put that as one example, one example. For instance, that's the first thing that came to mind. Like something that's beyond just you need 500 gold pieces worth of ruby dust. Well, you get rubies, you can grind them up. I'm thinking like really very very specific. Like if everyone wants to cast Heroes Feast down the road someday.
Yeah, I've been looking at a couple of those, and I'm wondering the same thing. But now that my mom might be the abbot, I might be able to have some
pull.
Yeah, so there's so that's one thing. There is a treasury. So there are 2 treasuries. Actually, there's 3 treasuries in the city. There's 2 that you know about. Okay. The 2 that you know about are the treasury, the royal treasury, which would be the queen's treasury. So you're probably not, I mean, to get access to that, you would have to know that there was something in there specifically that you then requested and had a good reason, and so you're going through the royal household to get that. And then there's the actual abbot's treasury, right? And the way that it works in Kalport is, so all the deities can be worshipped, and they all have temples. There's a temple for all of the good or neutral deities. There aren't any evil ones that you know about, but there are temples for all of the good and neutral ones in town, and they're all supported by the same treasury, and that's the treasury. Well, it was the treasury of Straben, and so the Abbot of Straben has control of that treasury. And so there is that basically the church's treasury is the second treasury that you know about. There's a third one that your PCs don't actually know about, which has to do with the Minister of Commerce, because there's there's like a tax base and all that kind of stuff that happens when trade occurs. And so that's a separate issue that you don't know anything about. But those are the 2 treasuries that you know about. And so it's possible that you would be able to, and also, as you know, there are also artifacts in the library. So finding special things could be as easy as asking Reyla to look in the treasury of the abbot, of the abbey, or it could be asking Tavros at the library, or it could be, if you learn that there's something actually in the royal treasury, it could be requesting the use of that item, which would be a really big ask at this point, but that's, or then there's the Dragon's Hoard, right? So there's a lot of, and let me put it this way. I'm not going to send you on a 6-session quest just to get 1 spell's worth of spell component, right? Like there will be a way to get it, and you can get it, and it shouldn't take more than like 1 session, right? If it's even a quest at all, it might not even take, it might just be a role-played scene where it turns out it's in the abbey or whatnot. So it kind of depends on what it is. Is the abbey going to have a bunch of tuning forks tuned to the other planes? That probably not, but you might find information about that in the library. So, right?
Yeah, I'm sure that there's like a planar travel section.
Yeah.
Stuff in there about that. So.
Right. So, yeah.
Yeah, I could specifically say, hey, how does the teleportation circle in the 2 areas that we found them at? How do those work? How do I get those to work?
Yeah. Yeah. And remember, there's a gate there. Remember, they told you there's an infernal gate, which obviously is a planar it's a plane touched piece of arcane energy. So, and that infernal gate is the one that was mentioned actually in the Book of Proofs when it talked about how you can reverse the sinking.
Yeah, we might just need to use that gate instead of anything else. But it's nice having ways to get back that don't involve getting somewhere. Right.
Yep. So, okay. Well, so let's end here, and we'll we'll sign off, and then and we already have our next game scheduled. Is that correct?
That is correct.
When is our
27th.
the 27th? Okay, that sounds good. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I will take us out of here. Thank you so much for watching and for putting up with our technical difficulties, which apparently we had in abundance today. And we hope you enjoy the show, and we will see you next time.
Bye.